Hello, everybody. So, Carly, once more, twice in a week at this present time. I've run into Kitty today. Hiya, Kitty.
Hi,
And
complete.
the conversation started how amazing the energies are at the moment. If you're feeling it, okay, as I have been in a good way, okay, in a good way, here is Kitty, and she's going to share more. What do you do, Kitty? Astronomy or?
Astrology. I call myself the storytelling astrologer. So I tell you the stories of the energy and you kind of interpret them and decide what to do with them. So
Come on,
that's,
then. So what's
and I have
going
guides
on?
that talk to me about, and as a matter of fact, this particular month,
Mm.
I think I even sent you, I was so guided to reach out, find people, tell them this is coming, tell them what this is about, because it is probably one of the biggest astrological shifts, if not the biggest in certainly my lifetime, that just happened this month. And because of it, this energy that's come through, we've kind of hit this critical mass of awakening. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in the midst of all of these astrological events, we also had, I guess you'd call it a photonic, a whatever event of this opening of the soul and the body traveling together in the midst of all of this support with the astrological energies to bring us forward.
Wow.
And what's really interesting is the understanding of this gateway that opened only really started coming forth in December. But I got it from several different sources, people that channel all at the same time, March, March. And I've been talking about it with a gentleman I do. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing it tomorrow. He's a shaman, and we do a monthly conversation. He does intuitive, I do the astrology. And we've been talking since August about March. And then as it got closer, they were talking more and more and more, March and April, March and April. And then all of a sudden channels were picking it up. So if you've been feeling like
Maybe
something,
just quickly, I mean, my personal, and maybe hopefully people can resonate, it is manifesting really quickly. I don't know, I spoke on YouTube. I had a cold in an hour that came in and went out in an hour.
oh, very physical too. Sides, eyes, ears,
Yeah.
things, some people call it the matrix, whatever. Things are different than they once were, especially for light workers. Here's the biggest takeaway is we've arrived. We've arrived
It
through.
feels like that. It does.
So we
Yeah.
have arrived. We have moved gravity. We have changed things. I was telling you, songs that I've known for years sound different. There's different notes in them, different words are appearing in that. I've been doing astrology for a long time and working with people like yourself. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these brand new words that I've never heard before. And I'm asking people who have been doing this for many years, have you ever heard this word before? And they're going, no, what is that word? So, I mean, there is a huge shift of our reality that happened through this March.
I mean,
It,
I quickly said that I met back with Martin, kind of had a chat with him, and just to me, it's like the mystery schools are coming back. Though. It's like this real awakening of the mystery schools inside of me. It's just magical.
it is magic. We have cross this one place called it Heaven's Cross. It's actually been also called the Apocalypse, but
Right.
the Apocalypse in Greece is just integration of energies meeting. We're 11 years past the Mayan calendar, which is the number of master builder, and
Right.
so we are literally have walked through a gateway, and it is. So now that we're kind of awakening in our own divinity, awakening and being able to hold our space, these things are coming back.
What's
They are.
important? What's important for us to do as light workers then? What is really important to do?
What's really important is understanding that you have arrived. You are holding a new space of divinity, and it's literally in our bodies, in our gravity. We have expanded. And so you're going to be seeing new realities coming and being very aware of holding the world you want to see. We were
Yeah.
just talking about this. Your words are very important. If you think things are crazy out there, things will be crazy out there,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
impeccable with the words. I've been saying that to all my students, be impeccable with your words. And I think they're fed up with me keep picking them up on what words are you using to yourself, because
Yes,
self.
especially how, because right now we're able to manifest and create very quickly what we put through our head.
Mm,
So it's so much more important to understand, be careful what you wish for.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and because we're holding this new soul and body connection, that's
mm,
why the mysticism's coming back. We're awakening DNA that's been buried and never been activated. This isn't just things returning.
mm,
The returning is about that the activation is here, and it's kind of like we're ready now. There's a
yeah,
lot of us ready to do it. Now that doesn't mean there's going to be a rise of false prophets. For goodness sake, use discernment with your television,
mm,
because there's that vibration is also being picking up. There's a good word, picked up by people who aren't understanding it. So they're going to feel the crazy. They're going to say, but look at but it is our evolution. It is
mm,
new mankind. We have arrived. And I guess that's what light workers believe it. We have arrived.
mm.
And
So,
really,
tell me about the stars though, because it's about you said the planets. I'm not very good with those planets, but the planets. This is all to do with alignment of what planets
so
then?
I'll give you an astronomy,
Yeah.
geological. So we know that the north, magnetic north has moved. All right.
Right.
And we've been hearing about the Schumann resonance, and we've also been hearing about all the solar storms and solar flares. All right. And
Mm,
that there have been like tornadoes on the 22nd itself. There was a storm, for if you're an astronomer, that
mm,
the sun had that is that you haven't like seen the likes of it before.
right.
And astrologist I follow actually took a picture, and she goes, I knew something was going on. Then her friend contacted her. So that's what all the northern lights are about. Because
Right.
when there are all of this solar action, it pulls on the Earth's magnetic gaseous layer. And it's
Right.
like a rubber band. And for me, I had to understand it very simply. It pulls it
Mm,
and it snaps back and it traps all of those gases and the energy. Look at how many northern lights things from very southern locations people are seeing amazing northern lights this year,
right.
aurora borealis, and really intense last week. People were posting pictures from Norway
Mm,
to northern Canada, but as far south as South Carolina.
right.
Like, why are we seeing the northern lights? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's incredible. So in the stars, so March was about March forward, and we really did march
yeah.
forward. Um, it kind of started with, well, first of all, our planet of communication moved into Pisces, Mercury. And when Mercury's in Pisces, it's all about uncovering our hidden ways we've been thinking. And we've had Mars in Gemini, which has been having us really look at our beliefs. And Mars usually is in a sign about 5 months. It was 7.5 months in Gemini for us to look at our beliefs, step forward, get ready. So much getting ready has been happening. And it's been feeling very like this for people. And it's
Mm,
starting to feel like this now. We can
mm,
feel it is really opening. So we had Saturn, which moved into Pisces on the 7th with the full moon. Everything this month was magnified with either full moons or some kind of astrological event. And Saturn in Pisces is like being given a power washer.
right.
Saturn, wherever Saturn moves into, is our planet of constriction. Just to give you an example, it moved into Aquarius, where that would be the restriction of the vision the day the world shut down, March 22nd, 2020.
Right.
And it really did make us look at how are we going to be together, literally revolutionary energy of, wait a minute, how are you going to tell me to live? How do I be with other people? Human beings had to find a new vision of how they were together. So
Mm,
that was part of the COVID
mhm,
understanding. Um, and so now it's moved into this Pisces sign, the sign of dreams and imagination. And sometimes it can be not in the reality, but with Saturn, there's a constriction of it, but that means there's a focus of it, a focus of how we want to flow in our dreams. So it's not so, excuse the expression, airy fairy, like we feel like it's very much more focused.
Mm.
And then that week, last week, starting with the 19th,
Mm.
that Mercury energy sped through to bring up all of these things to
Yeah.
let go of. And then it moved into Aries. We're starting anew. Then we have the sun in Aries, and Aries is all about our it's the warrior energy. It's not war, it's the warrior energy of who am I going to be and how do I take responsibility and really stepping in to starting things. In the midst of this, we have this March 22nd Heaven's Cross, where a gateway opened, and it was very specifically opening just before Aquarius went into Pluto, because Aquarius and Pluto is it. So Aquarius is the sign of the revolutionary, our vision of who we can be, our connectedness, but it's our thought. And when Pluto is in Aquarius, it is possible for the brain to kind of get isolated from the body. But literally the day before this happened, we had this opening where we crossed into other realms with both our soul and our body. So all of March, I bet you had a lot of weird aches and pains and
Oh.
awarenesses in your neck, in your kidneys. There was DNA being activated, still being,
Mm.
and a need to sleep.
And dreams just really, yeah,
Yeah.
bizarre dreaming.
And the dreams have become different. Like I told you this morning, I'm actually interacting in my dreams. I'm very aware that I'm interacting in my dreams
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
I've been before, you
yeah.
know. I'm not waking up going, that was weird. I'm waking up with I'm not even sure of all the pieces, but I know this is what I
Yeah.
was looking at. There's
Mm.
a new awareness. So on that 22nd, that shifted. And there's all kinds of things all over the internet.
Mm.
Uh, about this Pluto and Aquarius. But just to give you the historical perspective, the last time, so Pluto takes 246 to 48 years to go around the astrological wheel. It's the longest transitioning planet. It has an elliptical orbit. So even when it's in a sign, it's not in the same amount of years. It's somewhere between 15 and 23 years it stays in a sign. So the last time it was in Aquarius, it was when the Constitution was read, the trajectory of the world changed with the Constitution of the United States. It was also in 1789, when France was overthrown and became a republic. So this is that energy of Aquarius Pluto, revolutionary of the vision of how we're going to be together. Now we've opened these new doorways, we have new technologies, and that's another really interesting thing. The internet hit 29 years. It's in its Saturn return. It's in its restructuring. So here we have bodies awakening with technology and technology restructuring. And so it's kind of
Mm.
somehow this is it. And I'm not even sure how this is happening, but certainly our AI intelligence stuff is moving ahead, and there's going to be some kind of marriage. And how we approach that happening is how it happens. If we say it's going to be awful, but that's what's going to get created. Going back to exactly what we've talked about. If we think it's going to be wonderful for the advancement of mankind, that's what it will be. And that's the space for light workers to look at. This Pluto energy will hang around till 2044.
Yeah.
And depending where your own Pluto placement is,
Mm.
it will have a really big influence on your transformation. That's what Pluto is, the planet of going into the darkness and the light and holding it in the vision of how we want to be. And what's really so Pluto immediately is pulling apart how we're seeing each other, and in Aquarius, how we're interacting and trying to evolve us.
Mm.
Pluto, the only constant we have in life is change.
Mm.
And so again, what you put forward, this is a huge manifestation time. Now, it's so the other big thing that is happening this month or happened was we had these two bigger outside planets sitting at 29 degrees, moving to 0 degrees. And 29 is the anaretic degree, so is 0. 29 is karmic completion. And we have these two big planets sitting at 0 degrees.
Right.
Those two planets at 0 degrees means karmic reset. We are letting go of the human loop.
Right.
If we know and pay attention, we are letting it go. It's the realm of all possibilities. And what's interesting is when the Constitution and things were ratified, Saturn was in Pisces like it is now, but it was not at 0. So this really is a completely different, higher evolutionary time. We have the internet that's restructuring. And so I know you will see things that say, how can you say it's getting better when I see this? But it's your paradigm of those are people working different things out.
Yeah.
And yes, are there going to be people trying to cling on to the old ways? Absolutely. But the old ways you're talking about are stepping forward to bring us into the new ways. So that's why I think the gifts and the gates are opening.
So tell us about the new ways. So people that don't quite understand, trying to keep up with you, what are the new ways?
So the new ways are the we. We are moving from the I am. We are moving from that understanding of the Piscean consciousness to the Aquarian consciousness is about how we are together as man, how we celebrate and live in love and the vibrations, the more expanded vibrations, versus the Piscean consciousness has been oppression and to hold power. And Pluto is the planet of power. So this transition is, what are we going to do about the power of how we are together? And I mean, when you think about what the Constitution was, what the French Revolution was about, it was about the people. It was in France, it was about the people eating basic needs. In the United States, it was about pushing away what they have been told how they have to live. So that is the new part. We are living a different way. I mean, it's very interesting. There are, like I said, there are matrix things. I was watching a woman yesterday talk about, didn't y'all learn that the heart is on the left side? Do you know it's moved to the middle of your body now? You know, and talked about the kidneys, you know, where we used to locate them and now we know, you know, and it's not like we hadn't seen where they were, but we are truly shifting, just like the magnetic north is shifting, the core of the earth is shifting. We know Gaia is shifting. We know we are receiving photonic energy from parts of the galaxy we haven't received energy from. We are actually aligning with the very feminine part of the constellations, the very watery earth receiving. So there are places, there are dragons coming back. There's been a lot of beings here that have gone, that have held this space. So these other places are now coming because we're ready for it. And, you know, March, yesterday I felt, and this has been very solar plexus, very gut March. March has been about your gut, about
A lot of people
where,
with their gut, actually.
yeah, very much about following those. So this new earth is about the we and how we also learn about our own judgments, how our judgments have created our paradigm and our reality. And as we let them go, that's why our words are so important. We're able to let you have your own sovereign space and me have my own sovereign space and not have to take my point of view and make it your point of view. We don't have to agree. We just live and coexist. And I learn something from your point of view.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So what we're doing right now as star workers, and we are holding the space. And I don't mean that in a very light, seriously holding the light. So the denser stuff is going to push against, but it's going to expand. And we're getting ready for this.
So this, I mean, you're talking about facts. This is facts that this is what's happening. You know, this is astrological facts.
These are actually facts. These are not, you know,
this isn't a bit whimsical about, you know, people might think sometimes mediumship and energies work is all a bit whimsical, but this is facts, folks, isn't it?
And it's easier to reach the other side right now. Always during a solar we just went through oh my God, what's it called? Twice a year, spring equinox. But we also have an eclipse coming in April on the 20th. I think it's funny, it's 420, but that's just my own code. And you know what the code for 420 is in the United States, right? Marijuana. So, uh, but it's on 420, and it's our second new moon in Aries, which
Mhm.
is unusual. And so it's our second start. It's like we're restarting. And then we have what's called a nodal activation, our north node, which is in Taurus at the moment for the earth, which is about our values, our stability, our abundance. It's kind of our money aspect. And there's a T square with Pluto. So we are transforming it. We are changing those markets. We are going to be looking at different ways of abundance. And this new moon in Aries is very close to this Taurus energy. So there's a wonderful conjunction. Actually, it's a trine with um, Jupiter and Chiron. Chiron is our wounded healer, asking us in Aries to be our authentic self, and Jupiter is our expansion. So we are all going to be expanding gifts in April, understanding that we have new realities that have stepped forward. So honestly, guys, if you've been feeling it, so are a lot of the light workers. It's been physical, it's been needing to sleep, it's been wanting to pull back, it's been wanting to jump in, feeling a bit like you're on a seesaw, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
been.
Yeah, because I say exactly that. So sometimes it's like you're really sleepy. So I'm a bit like that today. And then other times, like say, can't sleep, you're buzzing. It's just kind of like, say, it's just,
And
yeah.
it hits you. I had it happen to me yesterday. Got up, I was fine, and I was getting ready to do a reading. And I do a daily thing on TikTok of energy.
Mm,
I just read what the energies are for the day. It's
mm,
just, and I do it also on Facebook. And I was getting ready to do it, and it was like somebody took and plugged in my solar plexus.
yeah,
You know that feeling when you have too many cups of tea or coffee?
yeah,
That jittery, only it was very directed in my gut. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
so I felt
mm,
like power up.
yeah,
What's coming through?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's going to be happening a lot. But this next month is very much about your soul's work. If you know what your North Node is, what am I being called? What am I really being to move away from what I brought in from other lifetimes? It's been released. The human cycle. You can continually say, thank you for releasing me from this because you are.
Yeah.
So even some of your soul contracts you might have can't come in with may have been let go of. You've stepped
Mm,
out of it in order to hold the space for other people to come. Some people are literally walking around as antennas, zinging people's DNA
yeah.
just to do it. So yeah, March. That's how we started this. March
Yeah.
was
Well, I just,
is
yeah, yeah, kind of had this conversation. I was just like, oh, you need to come and talk to me on the sofa. And just because I've had so many people around me, like I say, with March. So many people went quite right, quite far down in December and January. So say because I was away, and when I came back, everybody needed healing. Everybody was like, "Golly, can we have
well, and
healing?"
it's because in especially
Oof.
December and January, they were pulling stuff up to look at
No,
their
I
belief,
see.
look at the tendrils, look at where they've come ancestrally, get them up so they can let them go.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It was, they did. It was, there was a lot of fear coming up. I say one of mine was like I say, like loss of control. It was all sorts coming up, even on a holiday.
Well,
Just
and one of the most interesting concepts I ran across astrologically, and it was actually through a reading dealing with a great book for a person that followed Dolores Cannon and does
Mhm.
a lot of the hypnot was that really fear was in this age of Aquarius, patriarchal. That's the other thing is that those patriarchal myths are being exposed.
Mhm.
Even the Greek myths that got changed to be about domination, there are older myths coming through to say that's not really the archetype. The
Mm,
archetype was this, even the idea that the head exploded, out came a fully, the only thing that came out of the earth to from the water to the earth, if it was anything, it was feminine because
mm,
it was the water and what created.
mm,
And so it's there's such a shift. This divine feminine has been protected. It's
mm,
not that it was lost or oppressed; it was removed until we were ready to understand it again.
mm, mm.
And
Wow.
so it's been that fear was actually a virus.
Mm,
And what fear is the scared feeling turned into a pattern that hold you to it. So if you can learn to look at the fear, what am I really scared of?
Mm.
Oh, if it comes down that I'm dying, okay, then let me feel the feeling of being scared versus making it a fear to live through.
Mm.
That's the virus part. So isn't it interesting? We've talked about this big virus. We've
Mm.
come through this, and now we're aware that even fear is the emotion of sad or scared that got turned into something bigger than it was.
Mm.
And so there's just, it's such a exciting time, but it's
Mm.
a time to sleep, to really understand about grounding, to
Mm.
really work with your guides. There are new guides
Mm.
showing up every day now.
Mm. Mm. That's completely makes sense. Just to say, I'm sure I walk away. I just trust, and all sorts come out. One of my previous YouTubes on here is grounding.
Yeah,
Like that was just one of the big things I said to everybody that was really struggling. It's grounding seems to be coming up. They
it
work.
is. We did, I work with a woman who does yoga meditations, and
Mm.
every change of the sun, we do what we call sun magic.
Mm.
And she's very intuitive. And her whole one for Aries was, yes, Aries is a spark. It gets us moving. It wants us to do something, but we need to physically continue to come back to our body because there's a new joining of our body and our
Mm.
soul. And so it's letting the energy in, but not to be overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it completely makes sense because another thing, I think people were suffering, and like I say, I think they've come through it. From feedback, they came through it. They've come through it with some help. It again was nausea, like it was the stomach issues as well. You
Yeah,
know,
it very much is, gosh. And part of what we're letting go of from this Piscean understanding is suffering.
yeah, it was very.
Pain is part of life.
Mm.
It is that we are letting go of suffering, and we are stepping into how we help each other move through suffering. That's kind of this. Now there are people that argue we are in the age of Aquarius. I think we are actually in the age. We have just kind of crossed over it. But this next 20 years, certainly of this Aquarian energy. It's
So,
because we are lined up with this very feminine part of,
mm,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So last is I'm going to just round this up, but again, for that light worker out there, what is it? Kind of follow your soul path now. It's time to really insult.
Really, soul, it's much more focused. You've got a power washer to clear away the things. This is where my path, this is where my structure is taking me. My soul, I am the person my soul sees me as being, and to kind of tune into what that is.
If you
Um,
ignore that, it's gonna be harder, isn't it? I don't want to say it, but I mean, if that's what you want.
well, if you ignore it, then it's going to continually bring you, at this point, manifesting bigger lessons to, if you're asking to
Like
be
bring
on the
that
path,
round in, yeah,
listen. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think of being impeccable with my words. I don't want to say stupid, but yeah, it's going to get bigger to push you back in to say, come on, I want you to do your soul path.
Your soul path, it's what you bargain. We're going to see some exits of people too, people that
Mm.
are not. As a matter of fact, I was one of the things. It was interesting. I read a gentleman last night, very powerful gentleman, who said something to me. Because I just read that in a book, where if we decide not to evolve,
Mm.
which is free will,
Mm.
our next incarnation may not be on this planet. It may be on another Earth-like planet that's in a different level of their evolution, because we as humans, the humans, are evolving. It's coming. The
Mm.
change comes. You can rebel. You can,
Mm.
just, and I guess the other thing I would say for light workers is follow what resonates with you, but not to an absolute. So
Mm.
what resonates with me isn't necessarily how Carly's going to see it. So I
Mm.
don't have to convince her. I
No,
can say, you see it your way, you
yeah.
know. I can get out of my judgments. I like the saying, it's an Al-Anon saying, but my own life is barely my business, let alone somebody else's. you
Yes.
know.
It's none of
We
my
are,
business what anybody thinks or does of me. I don't care.
but our bodies are joining our souls. We are getting ready for these new technologies, these new abilities to see new realities. Look, that's the other thing I would say. Look, see
Look.
that you see something different, hearing differently, but
Yeah.
make sure you take the time to be quiet to synthesize it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of energy. And there's a lot of us holding that space. So if you have to step out for a while, somebody will hold it till you can come back in
Nice.
too.
That's a nice story, isn't it? Yeah, because you say, yeah, folks, if it's getting too much, just let us know and he will hold the space for you.
Yeah,
Lots
very
of
much.
lots of healing circles to go on as well then to help us all.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely a time of namaste,
namaste.
accepting the divine light in me and the divine light in you. And we're magnifying that. So there's a lot of things you can look at, and if it resonates with you, it may not resonate with everyone else, but really is about holding our space and we have a beautiful ability in April to take what has been wounding us and authentically just be who we are. All of the nicks and cuts and foibles and power that we have, and is expanding our understanding of ourselves. That is what's happening. Our soul is stepping into that understanding at a far greater level, and it's going to talk to your body. You're going to see it in your body itself.
So talk kindly to yourself.
Yes, it is so important that your words, because your words are related to the patterns in your mind, and if you break your habits with your words, you also reprogram your mind to holding the holding the human beings you want to see. And it's not my job to worry about somebody who's probably not there. That's their soul, their higher self's working with
Right.
it.
It is exactly. And sometimes we can rush in, can't we? Because we help people and kind of say it's their soul evolution, and that's
Yeah.
another story. Anyway, thank you so much
Thank
because
you so much for having me.
you're an amazing lady. I will put on the bottom. Tell us again where we can find you if you want to listen to it.
Intuition of the Soul on Facebook, and I post all of the programs. And also right now I'm working for a group called the Lioness Collective. It's on YouTube, and I have monthly, daily, and I actually have a whole program about Pluto and Aquarius. They're just videos right now on YouTube, but I always repost them on Intuition of the Soul, so you can find them there on Facebook. So.
Intuition of the soul, and folks, I'll put a little thing underneath. And yeah, thank you so much for
All right, Carly, we'll be in touch. So thank you.
Right.